Hello everybody and welcome to our Hairbrained live takeover with Slate Hair Education. We're here at Standard in Slingsby in central London. This is number 334. This is Michael Pizzolidis.
Hi everyone.
What are we going to be doing today, Michael?
So I just want to start by introducing the lovely Sophia. She is our model today. So she's agreed to do a very cool little edgy haircut in my opinion. It's going to be some very short graduation. It's going to come in very tight and tapered, and then we're going to just leave a little bit of softness here where it's going to extend in the length, and then we're going to leave a little bit longer in the front to have this lovely sweepy fringe. So it's going to have this beautiful silhouette of coming in tight, a little bit of softness, and then this lovely little fringe which is going to come from the side. What you can see is I've separated the top, and I've separated both sides, and then I've also separated the back. So my first section is like a little triangle section in the back of the hair, and what we're going to do is we're going to start by graduating this. So this first section is what's going to give me the weight at the top of the haircut, and it's also going to give me the length at the bottom and how much we build it to curve in the head shape. But I want to say happy Valentine's Day to all of you. I hope you had a great time. If you didn't, you can always call James.
Me and you were now, didn't we?
Oh, yeah.
It's very lovely.
Cool, so just about to start. So as always guys, please let us know where you're from, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. We love questions, so let it roll.
Okay, so Michael, as you're getting stuck into that, do you want to tell us a little bit about some of the things we've been doing, some of the things we've got coming up?
Yeah, of course, I don't mind to say it all. So one big thing that we've got coming up is the Hairbrained Video Awards. So we've been nominated, so thank you everyone so much to the Hairbrained Video Awards. So we're going to New York very, very soon. We'll be there on the 10th of March for the amazing party. So if you haven't booked your tickets yet, I recommend you go and book your tickets, and we really look forward to seeing you there. So that's a really exciting thing that's coming up.
What are you going to be doing there? Are you just...
So, wow, it's very interesting. We're nominated for the awards, so we're just going for the awards ceremony. And I have just got a message that I haven't managed to reply back to yet, but I think we've been asked to do a model for Elevate, so that'll be really exciting to actually do the model as well. So not just a bit of drinking, I have to stay sober and do a haircut, it seems, which is great fun. So yeah, guys, you know, it's a party with Hairbrained, the Hairbrained Video Awards. So if you haven't booked your ticket yet and you're going to be in New York, come on, we'd love to see you there. So just back to the haircut as well of what we're doing. So what I'm doing is I've taken my first section, and as you saw, I defined the graduation that I had and how tight I've gone into the neck. And what I'm going to do then is I'm just slightly pivoting each section. So what I mean by that is this point is staying static, it's not moving, and I'm just moving my sections around the head. And as you can see that as I move around, I'm going to start building weight behind the ears. So you can see that as you move around the head, you're starting to build weight. So guys, please let us know where you're from. Let us know what you think. Give us a like, give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to share. We got to share the love. Love is in the air still, and leftover chocolate. Come on, guys.
Just want to say hi to Joe from Newcastle. Thank you so much for getting people involved and getting them to watch. It's amazing. Hi Jeremy from Texas. People tuning in now. It's all happening. Hi Georgina from Florida. Again, guys, like and share this video, and that will really help us spread the education that we're trying to give here at Hairbrained.
Cool. So what you can see is I'm still just doing it, and what I've decided to go very, very tight at the bottom, and I'm actually going to scissor over comb a little bit. Now we've got a hairline here which pushes back, so really with those situations with hairlines, you've got two options. One, you can either leave it a little bit longer and softer, or two, you can go really short, and I've decided to go really short today because, you know, as hairdressers, we can't help ourselves, let's face it. We love going really short, guys. Just give us a thumbs up if you agree and you think you love going short with hair. If you like doing short haircuts, let us know. So what you can see here is, as we said, we're building the graduation, and we're just curving each section around the head, and our fingers are following the head shape as they're coming down, and we're building. This haircut that we had before was already really short, so I'm actually taking the haircut from before, the top point, as a guideline as I work around the head. So any technical questions you guys have, please let us know. We'd love to answer them. So we can see that as I work now, I'm actually feeling the bone structure as I work. You know, the bone structure is really important because the haircut is going to mold around the head shape. So I had a really good feel of the bone structure before I started. I know that it sticks out quite a lot here and it goes in quite a lot there. So what I'm doing is I'm going quite tight where the bones stick out, and I'm then going in quite loose when I'm coming to where the skin dips in. So where the head and the skin dips in here, I'm just leaving a little bit more length. And what this is going to do is it's going to give a really nice silhouette. So what you have to think is where the bone structure goes in, you want to leave more weight and more length. And where the head sticks out, you want to go a bit flatter. And at the end of that, it's going to give you this kind of very nice silhouette as you work through. So always remember that the hair molds around the head shape when you work. And so you have to think about the bone structure. So any questions you have on suitability and bone structure, please let us know. We'd love to answer any questions you have.
Do you tend to always really work to the bone structure? Is it the hair? What is it that you look for before you do a haircut?
I think you have to look at all of the above. You know, obviously you have to understand what it is that you're trying to create. And I think that is the number one secret to doing a good haircut, is actually deciding what you want to do before you start. Because if you don't, you find that the haircut is molding you instead of you molding the haircut. It's like trying to build a house without deciding what the house is going to look like. You're going to end up going back and changing your mind and going forward. So for me, the first thing is actually understanding what you want to achieve. That's number one. After you've done that, then you can start to think, okay, this hair is going to allow me to do what I think, or is it not? Because unfortunately, you can't do everything. You know, we actually have limitations we work with hair as well, and not everyone can have everything they want. So that's one thing. So you have to decide if the hair type is actually the type and the length is there that you want, what you want to create. After you've decided that you actually have enough hair and it is the right type, you have to think about how it's going to mold around the head shape, because actually, to get the same result on each person, you have to change the technique. What I mean by this is, if the head was a lot flatter, I would have to actually build it much heavier to get the same result. So now this head shape sticks out. So what it means is I can go higher. So what I'm saying is, to get the same result on me and James, you would actually have to do different techniques, because our head shapes are different.
Very different.
Yeah, mine's like an egg. And underneath all that hair, James, I don't know. I'll have to have a feel later on the side.
Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. We're getting people from all over the world now. So again, if you could like and share the video, that'd be amazing. Rebecca has asked, actually, to you, Sophia, have you had this haircut before? Well, you don't know, do you? You can't see what's going on.
I mean, I've actually never had my hair so short before. I used to have really long hair, so I'm really excited to have like a different change. So no, actually I've never had this haircut before.
So you had super long hair when we first met you, actually.
Yeah.
I remember we used you for a show, didn't you? You came in with all your hair and you let us chop it all off.
Long and ginger.
Lovely.
So we used Sophia for a lovely show we did for charity called ACT. And actually it was a gap that cut your hair last time for that show. So that show was really special for us because it was all for the charity My New Hair by Trevor Sorby. And it's for the charity. And what they do is they teach hairdressers how to style wigs for people who have lost their hair due to medical reasons like cancer. So it was a really great event that we did. And now Sophia's come back for it even shorter. So I've only done one side, but you can see how it builds onto the head shape nicely. You can see that where the hair is pushing back, it actually comes in quite nice and tight. And I've worked around the bone structure, so I know where it sticks out a lot and where I wanted to build the weight from as well. So that was nice. We've done one side, but actually the tricky bit sometimes is to do the same on the other side as well. So what you always have to do is you have to keep in mind how much you pull the hair left and right. So what I mean by this is, if you pulled the first section here, on the other side you need to do the same. You can't do the first side here and the second side way over there. So you have to have balance when you pull it over. So what I do is I take my section, I'll cut it in, and then I'll check on the other side. So if you guys have trouble with balance, please feel free to ask a little bit about questions, and I'll try and help you out as I go along and give you the best advice I can on balance. But yeah, anyone who has issue with balance, let us know what you're thinking.
Manos says hi from Greece. We're actually going to Greece, I believe, very soon.
Exactly. So we'd really like to say a big shout out to Armour Beauty. Armour Beauty are the distributors of Milkshake and Kevin Murphy, an American crew in Greece. And we're just going to start offering education for the first time in Greece. So we're going to do a really big show in Athens. It's going to be our first ever show in Greece. So if you guys want to come watch us for the first time in Athens, please get in touch with Armour Beauty. And I'm sure they'd love to have you come watch the show. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. It's our first time doing a show in Greece, in Athens. And so yeah, with Armour Beauty.
Oh, it's going to be fun. So we have me and you.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing some cutting.
Yeah.
But we also offer another side of the education as well.
Yeah.
It's the lovely lady behind the camera.
Why don't we, we can see her in the mirror saying hello. So we have our amazing style director who's behind the scenes, behind the camera there, giving us a nice steady hand. And what she does is we offer actually styling courses as well. So we do offer courses in styling and cutting and in colouring. So we really try and offer as much as we can for anyone who wants to learn with hair education, as many different subjects as we can. Because hairdressing is not about one, and I think that's the thing that makes us a bit different as well, is we really work on this vibe of precision cutting, but we also offer very much about fashion styling as well. So that I think is a nice thing. It's not just about doing things clean, but things have to have a little bit of style to them as well.
Cool. Say hi to Jo, thanks so much. She says it's a great way to teach her junior stylists. It's really nice actually when we go away and we teach like a full salon. So we have people of all different levels. I just went away to Guernsey, actually, a very lovely little island, which is very fun.
People are like, where's Guernsey again?
So it's in it's Channel Islands, so it's in between England and France, and there's a lovely lady there called Maggie, and we went and we taught for 3 days. We did a 3-day bespoke course with them, because what we can do is everyone has different needs, I think, in education. So what we can do, as opposed to just doing, right, we're doing these haircuts, we're going to do it this way, we can really show you and teach you what you feel that you need and what's going to suit your whole company. So if you guys are ever interested or have any questions about our education, please just email us or message us and we'll get straight back to you.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's the beauty, isn't it, James? We're just saying is about bespoke education, is the fact that what we do is we tailor make courses to people's needs. So if you're a salon owner and you want Slate to come to your salon and teach your staff and really bespoke the education to your needs, and that's what we do as well. You know, that's the nice thing about our company, is we're not this huge company that can't change ourselves to what you need as well. We can really do in-salon bespoke education. So if you guys want, you can go to our website, slatehair.com, and yeah, just send us a message. You know, we'd love to hear from you.
So while we're on the subject, we have a few courses coming up actually, because as well as doing that, we also just hold courses in locations, and then it's possible for people to come, individuals from salons or salon owners to come. So those dates are, we are doing in Cyprus, we're doing a 2-day course on the 27th and 28th of March, which is the square geometrics. So what we try and do is we try and break it up into square, triangular and round, just so it gives us something to be hungry for next time, you know. So rather than trying to fit in 9 haircuts in 9 days, it's a lot of work and a lot to take in. So sometimes it's nice to break it up, go away, and then we can sort of revise and go back to it. So we've got the 27th and 28th of March in Cyprus. That's held at L'Oreal Studios, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we also have in London a creative course.
Yeah, so I think one thing also that's beautiful is you know, a bit of inspiration as well, because it's amazing, and for me classic haircuts is what it's all about. If you can create a classic haircut, then you can create anything, but it's also nice to open your eyes a little bit and think outside the box. So that's what the creative's all about. It's about taking those classic shapes and breaking them apart. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm just doing a little bit of a cross-check. So what you can see is I've worked through both sides. So I've done a pivoting section from the top, and I've worked through each side coming round. So I did one side and then I did the other side. And what I want to do now is I want to cross-check the shape through. So I'm going to come from the center first. Now, one good thing about working from the center is if you are balanced in the center, it's going to make it easier for you to get balance on both sides. So what I do is I focus on the middle, I make sure that I'm balanced, and then I cross-check each side. So middle, and then each side to make sure. So I'm just going through the middle now, but what you don't want to do is you don't want to grab lots of hair, because what you'll do is you'll look at the bit underneath, the bit on top, and you won't know where you are. So the best thing to do, and I'll just put your head down just so everyone can see better, is I push the hair away, and I put my comb underneath, and I take a smaller section, and I just dust. Now, it's when you want to blend graduation, the best thing you can do is put tension in your work. But if you just want to make a cross check, it's good to do it without tension, so you're not pulling the hair too much. So again, I just move the hair away, I'll put my comb in, I'll take a small section, and I'll just be dusting it. Now this is just to refine the graduation and make sure that we're balanced on both sides. So when we worked through our graduation. Now what I'm doing is I'm cross-checking my technique, my shape. So what I did was I worked through vertically, and I did a really nice technique, but now I'm just making sure that my shape is balanced on both sides.
Right, question.
Yay.
Ready?
You win. First question of the night.
So, this is from Pamela. Thank you very much, Pamela, for the question. We love the question.
Hi, Pamela.
So, can someone please explain to me what the advantage is of cutting from the top down?
Ooh, okay.
Everything I create is from a baseline working up with the natural shape of the head with style variations, of course.
Yes, perfect. So, the main difference, if you tend to work from the bottom up, you always tend to build something heavier. So if you work from a line and then you build up, you always naturally make things heavier. So whether it's graduation or you're going from a line into the layers, anything that starts from down is built heavier. Now if you start something from the top, you're more likely to come in tighter on the head shape, and you're more likely to make it flatter and softer. So anything from the bottom up builds weight, and anything from the top down tends to slim weight as well. So that's the thing, anything started from the top or internally is always softer, and anything from the bottom working up is always heavier. So if you're doing a gent's cut and he's got a little head and you want to make it wider, you start from the bottom and you build your way up. If they've got a big head, you can start from the top and you can come down, and you're always going to slim things more with the corners. Sorry, I'm not being politically correct, but there we go. So that is the main thing. Now, if you want to think about it, think about old haircuts, classic haircuts. Classic haircuts are heavier, fuller, and they always started from the bottom and worked their way up. Modern haircuts are normally started from the top or started internally. So anytime you want something heavier, start from the bottom, and anytime you want something lighter, start from the top. Thank you so much for your question. If that makes sense, give us a thumbs up, let me know, tell me. If it doesn't, we'll go over everything again. I have no problem.
Perfect.
Cool.
So just quickly, Michael, how did you determine your sectioning through the hair?
Right, well, yeah, I mean, basically what I did was I had to look at the head shape again, and I know it sounds like I'm kind of saying the same thing again and again, but it's so true. I looked at where the head kind of sticks out the most, and I'm thinking, okay, where it sticks out the most, that's where I want to flatten the haircut. But where it really goes in quite a lot, that's where I want to build weight. So as soon as the head started to stick out, I tack that away because I'm going to make that soft. And where I wanted to build it, I went from there. Now, and then what I was thinking was, okay, I want to slim the sides, I want to build the back, and I want to soften the top. So my sectioning on the top is all in the way that I want to soften it. I know how slim I want to make the side, and I know how much I wanted to build the back. So it was really, the sectioning was built around the head shape and what I wanted to see. Now, when I'm cross-checking here, you can also see that what I'm doing is I'm taking these diagonal sections and they just curve round the head and they connect to the center. So the center is my guideline at this point. So what I'm doing is I'm just coming round and I'm just connecting in anything that I find that sticks out a little bit into the center. Now, it's a very subtle thing that I'm doing, but it makes all the difference in the world. So guys, please ask as many questions as you like. I love questions, so please fire them at me.
Wendy just said the police car just went past. That's correct, Wendy.
Yes, we are in London, and I think they're looking for James. I think you better run, James. He's a surfer on the run, this boy. Got to be careful, yeah?
So, just back to what you were saying briefly.
Yeah.
You said it's very important to make sure that we're removing these little bits. Now, why is it the way that the hair sits? Is that what's affected? Why is it so important to cross-check and make sure everything's perfect?
Right, well, normally for me, obviously the first thing, when you're cross-checking, you have to understand what it is you're cross-checking. The way I kind of put it is, if I told you, please make sure the shape of this chair is correct, well, you might say, well, what does the chair look like? Does it look like this chair? Does it look like Manan's chair? Grandmother for another country. You've got to think about what it is that you're checking essentially. So for me, I know that the shape I'm trying to create goes shorter in the middle and builds weight on the sides. I know that I'm trying to build into where the bone structure goes in as well. And I know that it's a graduated shape. Now, what I'm doing is, because I work vertically, I know that my graduation is quite nice, but as I said, I'm thinking about my shape at the moment. So what I've done is I've worked vertically, so my vertical is good, my graduation, and what I'm doing is I'm coming across and I'm taking things more horizontally so I can check the shape. So essentially what I'm doing now is I have nice graduation, but I'm just making sure my shape looks nice at this point. Does that make sense, everyone? If it does, let us know. Give us a thumbs up.
Rebecca, thanks for the question.
Hi, Rebecca.
And Joe asked the same question.
Thanks, Joe.
Do you prefer cutting short hair? Is it do you prefer to cut short hair?
So, I always answer, because I actually do styling as well, so I always tell people, I like whatever gives me more freedom. So when I have long hair, I really like to style the hair because I feel like that gives me more freedom in my work. Now, if I'm going to cut hair, I like to cut short hair because I feel like I have more freedom to do more cutting. So essentially, I really enjoy whatever gives me more freedom. So in this respect, I do like to cut short hair because I feel like it gives me the freedom to really create something very dynamic and interesting.
Perfect. And yeah, Rebecca said we get more of a challenge, don't we? I think in a sense, that's true, because I think you can maybe perhaps see everything as you're doing it, as it sits to the head, as opposed to it sitting down here, it sits on the head so we can really see if anything's right or not.
I mean, my mentor and my business partner with Slate always taught me and said, you know, when you do long hair, if you make a mistake, no one can really see it. It's not that obvious, and it's very difficult to get it correct to within a millimeter. But when you work on short hair, everything's obvious. So if you do make a mistake, it's in your face. So what I'm going to do now is, that's really nice. Now, obviously, I knew that we were going to have a problem with the hairline because of the way it jumps out. But I knew that I was going to come back in and scissor over comb it as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in, I'm going to start to scissor over comb it. But I want to teach you guys something that's really important as well. It's about how to scissor over comb it and keep the weight. Now, there's two things we can do here. One is when we go in and we curve the comb out like we're graduating the shape. So as we come in, we're going to curve it out and we're going to graduate it in. But after that, you're going to see that what I'm going to do after that is I'm going to come in and I'm going to turn the comb out. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow me to keep the shape and the weight and just nip the top off. So let's put theory into practice. And
a lot of questions coming in, Michael. So
hit me.
Right, well, Simone, I think Michael might have just touched on this and what he said, but Simone said, how do you know how to finish the hairline into the neck? Should it be blunt or feathered?
Now that is a personal choice. That's something that you should decide with your client before you start. Now obviously for me, with this type of hair, because it so wants to kick out, I really had to leave it a lot longer than this if I wanted to leave it soft. If I wanted to leave it soft, I would probably have had to have left the hair quite a bit longer. Now, if I wanted to go short, and you know, obviously Sophia was okay with that, I can go as tight as I want before I start to scissor over comb it, which is exactly what I did. If that makes sense, give us a thumbs up. If not, leave us a comment that it doesn't, and I'll be happy to go over everything again.
Zoe has asked a question. I think this must be for you.
Hi, Zoe.
What's the best way to keep tight curly hair in good condition and keep the curl?
Now, why would you ask me that question? Honestly, guys. So ask me it again, because I got lost when you said curly hair. I was just thinking.
What's the best way to keep tight curly hair in good condition and keep the curl?
In good condition is definitely just about treating it well, you know, looking after it, shampoo, conditioning properly, and you know, obviously if you want to put in anything else, treatments, balms, Obviously don't bleach your hair, don't straighten it. These types of things are what keeps hair in good condition. Now, not keeping it messy, obviously the thing about curly hair is the more you touch it, the more frizzy it's going to get. So it's very, very important to actually kind of not touch curls. So what we always do in the salon is we put in a lovely bit of mousse or something that's going to help the hair. And then once we dry it, we don't touch it. And the worst thing I see is when you're diffusing hair, you should never be like touching it all the time. As hairdressers, we think the more we touch it, the better it is, but it's not. So what we try and say is always, when you do want to dry curly hair, just let it do its thing. Just let it dry more naturally and then try and not touch it. You'll always get a better result.
Perfect. So Nana, I think I'm saying that right.
Hi Nana.
Has asked a very good question. How do you get faster at cutting hair, even short? She's a beginner. Now when I started, I thought exactly the same, and I was cutting hair for 3 hours, and I'm like, how the hell am I ever going to do this in 45 minutes or an hour? And then someone gave me really good advice, and they said, you can only do the best you can do in the time you're given. We could all spend 5 hours on a haircut, but I think what became really important to me is to understand hair cutting as opposed to haircuts. So if you make a mistake, you know how to go back and find it, and you know what you've done, as opposed to seeing something, panicking, and then chopping it away, and then doing more and more and more. So I think really understanding deeply hair cutting and elevation and over direction and what happens when you lift something there and do something there is going to help you with that. And then you have to remember that the time that you're given, you have to do all you can in that time. Not everything can be perfect in that amount of time. So I hope that helps now slightly.
Yeah. I mean, I think the truth is, obviously, as James was saying, is, you know, we have limits to what we can do, but the truth is that as you get better, even what you do in rushed is actually better than what you used to do. So it's all about realizing that, you know, and my business partner, you know, said to me, he goes, my bad day is better than your good day. And I think that sums it up nicely. Once you get the experience, you're going to realize that even if you have a bad day, it's not so bad because you know what you're doing. And it does take time, and it does take experience. So you have to give yourself a little bit of patience as well.
So I think it's Jean, but Jean said, what about making it spiky? I suppose that's all down to the end, isn't it? And you can choose how you want to start.
Obviously, you know, also it's about, you know, the texture of the hair. Some hair will just jump naturally, whether you want it to or not. So you have to think about the hair type. If you don't want it to jump, you have to be very, very careful with your work. So, you know, if it's very, very short hair and it's that type of hair, like Asian hair, let's say, that's bound to jump out, you just have to be very careful and conscious of it. And before you start, think about the choice of length. You know, a lot of what we do is about choosing the right length. If you don't choose the right length, it's not going to work. You had a good comment there.
Yeah. Ben, the Zohan is back, always doing awesome cuts, bro. Thanks,
yeah.
Ben. Good to hear
I love
from you.
it. More cushion for the bushing. Sorry.
Okay.
For those of you that have not watched that film, I strongly recommend you go watch it. Silky smooth is all I'm saying.
Okay.
Gotta say we have a laugh while we do this, guys. Come on.
Yeah, it's all about having fun, isn't it? So, with the scissor over comb, Michael, I always find it, when do you decide to stop? Because you could do it forever, right?
No, well, basically when the clock runs out, that's a good point. No, it is about getting a bit more experience, as we said, and kind of learning what the limits are, you know. And for me, it's always about just taking it slowly and refining it. You know, slowly refining it. You should always work in little panels. So what I did was I started from the middle, I did the middle, and then I started to work through as well. So that was the thing for me, is working in these panels helps me a lot. So starting from the middle and then working to the sides and just being a little bit slow with it, I think is a really, really great way of doing it.
Do you find how do you have your body position and stuff? How does that relate to when you're doing things that's
when
you're not on a camera?
Speaking of body position, actually the good thing for us is that we have the chair. Can you just have a neck brush, please? So the good thing is we have the chair. Obviously keeping the chair upright is a great thing as well, and I've just remembered that. And you know what, I think that's the thing that is so funny about what we do is, you know, for us hair educators, it's quite a lonely world. We're kind of on our own a lot, and we don't really have this great opportunity to talk to people and have them kind of point out and say, you know, careful what you're doing there, look at your body position. But I think that is a huge thing, is actually keeping yourself more stable and more straight is just going to allow you to see better what you're doing. And certainly with the head position as well, you know, it's always confusing because when the head moves and you cut it and the head goes back to the middle, you think, oh my God, what did I do? So the easiest thing to help you stop that is simply just keep the head upright. So providing you keep the head upright, you're not going to have any surprises. Let's put it like that.
That made a massive difference for me actually. I feel like when I started out, everything we were told to always put the head down, because everyone was so terrified of having your graduation in a line or whatever, but actually you're guessing on your shape. Would you say a little bit more?
Yeah, of course, because you can't see the way the bone structure is sitting. So, you know, keeping the head upright is just going to allow you to really see the way that the hair is going to move naturally. And what I'll do is I'll show you a little secret actually afterwards of how you blend in any weight that you get as well, which is a really nice trick that I learned. What you do, so if you are going to move the head around, it's important to actually understand why you're going to do it, when you're going to do it, and what it's going to affect. So I know that if I'm struggling because I have a little bit too much weight in the bottom, I'm going to have a really lovely technique to show you in a second. Now obviously it's going against the grain of the hair as well, so when I move around, I'm going against the grain. So you always get a little bit of weight here, which is really hard to get rid of as well. So what the trick is here is if you put the head back a bit, you end up getting the lines. Maybe if you want to stand a bit more there, MJ. And then you see that, if you put the head back a bit and you come in, what you're going to find is that bulk just sits out a bit, and coming out, it just helps that blend a bit better. So when you're scissor over combing, it's about a dust. That's the most important thing, is that you're dusting the hair when you work. You should never be taking chunks off. Actually, if you think that you're not cutting anything, that's when it works best.
I'm going to have a quick shout out to Michael Stannard, whose
Michael.
home we're in.
Exactly.
So thank you very much for watching.
We're in the beautiful space of Stannard and Slingsby here on High Street, Kensington, and this is our London home at the moment. You know, when we're running our creative classes, we're doing it here as well. So if you do want to come see this salon, please join one of our creative classes and you'll get to see this lovely space and where all the magic happens.
So a couple of little things.
Yeah.
One thing, I guess there's two things really that we're looking for with scissor over combing, and I guess one of them is weight and lines internally, but the other thing I guess is the silhouette.
Yeah, of course. So that's something that you'll always be looking at. And you know, for me, what I'm trying to do is as I'm turning the chair around, I'm looking at the silhouette and I'm looking at where the weight sits on it as well. So I'm working against the hair at the moment. So when I come down, I'm just working against the hair. So all those little tiny little hairs. All those tiny little hairs. So I'm working against the grain at this point, and that's really important. You have to go against the way the hair moves. And what I'll do is I'll grab a little mini clipper at some point, and I'll just clean it up as much as I can.
So Ella asked a very good question.
Oh, hello, Ella.
Thank you for your question, Ella. Is it better to keep the hair wet or dry when scissor over combing?
Definitely dry. Definitely dry.
Why?
If it's wet, you will not see the way the hair's reacting properly. So it's very important that the hair is dry so you can see how the hair reacts as you work. That is really, really important.
Perfect.
Cool.
Do you find you have less control of what you're taking out and how much you're taking out?
Yeah, definitely. I find I have so much more control when the hair's dry. So I would never scissor over comb when the hair's wet, to be honest.
Zoe
Hi,
has
Zoe.
asked, what's the best products to use on curly hair to keep the frizz away?
It depends.
It's
It
tricky,
really
isn't it?
depends. It really depends. You know, I think personally, gosh, which one do I really like these days? I venture because I think each company kind of has their own products that are good for different types of curly hair. You know, some of them is better for thicker hair, some of them is better for more finer hair. So you really have to kind of find which one works for the density of hair you're working with. So it's not one size fits all. You kind of have to play with it and figure out which one's best. Obviously I'm lucky because I play with it on my own hair. So
Sometimes I find what works quite well with curly hair is rather than washing it all the time, that can create frizz. So if you have a shower or whatever, and when you wet your hair actually, if you just condition it as opposed to shampoo it, then only shampoo it when you really, really need to, then I find that helps keep the frizz a bit more tamed.
I love it how we're both talking about like tamed frizzy hair when really
we're in the shower.
we're both just like frizz balls basically. If you think that we're frizz balls, give us a thumbs up.
And while you're doing that, guys, again, if you could like and share the video, that would be amazing.
Yeah, while you're giving us a thumbs up for our frizzy hair, please don't forget to like and share. Thanks.
It's looking great at the back of my picture.
Cheers.
Okay, so what's next?
Cool, so next what we're going to do is we're going to work on the side. So I've just cleaned up the back, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop at this point, because one thing that you'll find is it's very difficult when you only have a vision of a small area. What I mean by that is when you're working just in the back and you can't see what it looks like on the side yet. So when you finish, you might think, actually, I might need to go just a little bit tighter in the back. But until you do the sides, you're not really gonna see that properly. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave the back for now. I'm gonna move on to the sides, and then I'm going to come back if I need to and just work through the back again. But for me now, it's looking really nice at this point. So can I have the water spray, James, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to wet the hair again, because we're going to start connecting through the sides now as well. So again, it's very important for me to work with wet hair when you're working with these clean sections, and then to work with dry hair when you're working through the scissor over comb. So thank you very much, Rosalie. Can I just have the lovely neck brush, please?
Absolutely. She is quite a divine neck
It is. I know, we have some posh... We did not kill a porcupine. I swear, the porcupines are safe.
It looks a bit like you.
If you think I look like a porcupine, leave a comment. So, oh God, we are having a bit of fun here in London, I must admit. Are you having a bit of fun, Sophia? Yeah, she's alright. So, please guys, give a huge thumbs up to our lovely model, Sophia. She's absolutely stunning, and she's agreed to go for the shortest haircut she's ever had in her life, which is a big thing. You know, for those of you that are just joining us, thank you. Let us know where you're from. If you have any questions, you know, please ask as well. What we're doing is we're going for this lovely little short graduation in the back, and we're going to go for this lovely little short shape on the sides. So graduated again on the sides with a lovely little bit of external length, but coming in really tight and tapered. I've already cut the back, so what I did was I did my graduation and I pivoted that from the back around as I worked, and I scissor overcombed the bottom, but I'm going to come back in and work it a little bit more once I've connected in the sides. So I know that I want to go for something quite flat on the sides, so I'm going to work horizontally. Now, one of the reasons I'm going to work horizontally is because it's much easier to see the shape I'm creating and connect the length to the back. But the only thing that I have to be very careful of is if I want a flat shape, it's very important that I elevate the hair quite a lot. So what I'm going to be doing is each time I work, I'm going to be elevating. Now you can see the length that I have in the back, and that's the length that I have to connect it to. So I have a guideline of the length I want in the front, the length I have in the back, and I just have to connect those two dots, and then how much I lift the hair up is how flat. So if I lift the hair down, I'm going to get a really heavy shape, but I don't want that. I want it to be quite a flat shape. So what I'm going to do is each time I'm going to pull up higher in order to get a flatter shape. If that makes sense, let me know. If not, I'll go over it again.
So a couple of questions. I'll start with the easiest one first. This is from Rick. Thank you very much for the question, Rick. Saying how amazing his late education is, which is very, very sweet.
Thank you.
He said that it's amazing seeing the short haircuts, but it would be nice to see our approach to maybe doing some longer hair and some longer hair cutting and some styling. I was going to say that we're looking at doing some more Hairbrained lives on, well, not Hairbrained lives, sorry, lives on the Slate video, just so we can do some different things as well. So that might be we might look at doing some longer hair on there, maybe with the Hairbrained lives as well.
Exactly. So, I mean, we actually have done quite a few long haircuts as well. You know, we've done ones from about here down. So if you are interested, we've done ones that are more open in the front or things that are more closed, so longer hair. If you go on our website, Slate Hair. So if you go on slatehair.com, so forget the education, slatehair.com, and you go to events, you're going to see that in the events section it shows you some Hairbrained lives we've done already, and that will take you to the Hairbrained lives on Facebook, and we've done quite a few with long hair as well. So we have done a few for longer haircuts. So you'll find everything there. So we've got a few on short hair, a couple on long hair. So guys, we are trying, and as James said, we are going to go more live on our own Facebook, Slate Hair Education. And what you'll be able to do is see a little bit more of a variety of looks from us.
Perfect. Now.
No, so back to the haircut. So what I've done is I just took the length that I wanted at the front. So one little secret I did there was with my first section, I brought it down to the length that I wanted it to, and then I lifted it up afterwards. So I knew that when it falls, it'll fall around this area where we have these amazing cheekbones. So, and then what I did is as I came through, I took a vertical section to just connect the back in. So what happened was I took my section across, so I'll show you here. And I haven't done this one yet, so I'll just connect that one in as well for you now. So we come through horizontally, and we connect it to the length that we have in the back. And then what I did was I come back vertically after that, and I just make sure that it blends in with the back. So we can see here that there's a connection as well. So horizontally, come back vertically and just have a look. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do the whole of the side before I cross-check. Because the problem that you have is that if you start cross-checking each section, what will probably happen at the end is not everything will balance and connect. So what I always say to do is actually finish one bit, one whole side, before you start cross-checking. If you cross-check every single section, it's probably not all going to blend.
So you're a stylish guy, Michael. Rose said, what's the style this summer, short or long?
I think style is so individualist, you know. I don't think that every client can have super short hair, and I don't think every client should have super long hair. I think it's really, the world we live in now is all about the individual. I'm a punk, I'm an emo, I'm a classic, I'm a rocker, I'm a KTV, you know, I'm a Kardashian.
What's a KTV?
KTV, you don't know KTV?
No.
You've never been to Korea?
No.
Okay, there we go. So, those of you out there, please guys, back me up here. You guys know what KTV. We've got MJ behind the camera going, don't, just be quiet. Okay, those of you that don't know KTV, it's a karaoke. Anyway, so, we're moving on. I think style is individualist. So for me as a hairdresser, the most important thing for me is to be able to create whatever it is my client wants, whether it's short hair or long hair, or crazy hair or classic hair. I think as hairdressers, we should be able to create what people's style they want. Obviously these days, it's a lot easier to have people that want short hair as well as long. You know, we're in an age where women can have whatever styles they want. There's no one size fits all. You can have long, you can have short, it's really up to you. That's my honest answer.
Yeah, perfect. Just hi to George, our guy in Cyprus.
Hey, George, good to you. Don't say that online. So George is part of the Slate team. He is our academy principal in Cyprus, so it's good to know he's watching. It's a bit late. I think he should be in bed, no? So those of you that follow our journey will have seen George. He, you know, sometimes takes James's job when we're in Cyprus and does a little bit of comparing for us as well.
Amazing. Right, so are you going to be working exactly the same through the other side?
Yeah, but first what I'm doing is I'm actually doing the cross-check at this point. So what it means is I'm taking the whole section from top to bottom. Now what I did was I worked with horizontal sections, so I know that my shape's nice. It comes short and it connects to the back as well. But what I'm doing is I'm just coming vertically to make sure that my technique is good. What I mean by that is I'm just making sure from top to bottom, my graduation sits quite nice. So it's a cross check. So what I'm doing is I'm pulling the hair out vertically. I'm just coming up and working up from the head. And we are blending through. So guys, tell us where you're from as well. You know, we love hearing where you're all from. So please don't be shy. Let us know where you're watching from around the world.
So do you want to tell us a little bit more about what we're going to be doing in Athens? Just the once we're going.
Yeah. So you know, obviously with Athens, we're being sponsored by a brand out there called Armour Beauty. So if you don't know who Armour Beauty is, they're the suppliers of Kevin Murphy and Milkshake in America and Crew in Greece. They're a really amazing company. You know, they're very edgy, very modern, very cool, and very young and very fresh. And so they've asked us to be a part of their education. So we're going to be offering education throughout the year with them. So if you are in Greece and you want some world-class slate education, what you can do is you can contact, sorry, I had to say that one. When you can contact Armour Beauty, and you can find out from them about all the courses we're doing throughout the year and what the availability is. So yeah, if you're from Greece and you want to see Slate, just contact Armour Beauty.
Perfect.
Cool. So what you can see is I'm actually coming to the end now of one side, and I just worked through. So what I had done was I had worked through the back vertically, then pivoting around to create this nice little bit of graduation. I came through across horizontally here, and I just came through and cross-checked vertically. So I've done one side. All I need to do now is do the exact same on the other side. That's all. Easy.
Good luck.
Yeah, thanks. In fact, James, do you want to do the other side? Don't worry, I promise I'll do the other side. We can take a ransom now and say, I won't do the other side.
The shapes have been stunning.
Yeah, it's coming along nicely.
Do you prefer working more classically? Do you prefer working more with disconnection and more creatively? Do you have a preference?
I think for me, actually, if you want to talk about being a good cutter, if you can do a perfectly connected, balanced, classic haircut, you are the god of cutting. That is the hardest thing to do. The hardest thing to do is to do a symmetrical, balanced, classic, good shape. All of us can do a creative haircut. Just whack a little bit off and leave a little bit long, right? That's a creative haircut. There's no such thing as right and wrong in creative, you know. It's obviously whatever you decide. So for me, being able to do something which is balanced, because naturally we're not balanced. Our hands are not the same, our feelings not the same, our hand position's not the same. So balance is a very hard thing. So I take a lot of pride in being able to do balanced haircuts, and I put a lot of effort into it. So what I've done is I've measured from the back that it's the same on both sides. Remember, if you go back to the beginning of the video, you're going to see that I cross-checked that. And then by working with these horizontal sections, I find it much easier to keep a balanced shape. So what I mean by this was when I doing the first side here, I actually measured it. Obviously, we've got these amazing piercings everywhere, which are just joyous to work around. Anyway, you hairdressers out there know what I'm talking about. I think we should ban piercings. I used to have piercings there, and then when I realized how annoying they are, I took them off. So what I'm doing is I want to measure. So what I do is I actually drop my hand. Now, I really love the facial features we have here. We have an amazing mouth, amazing nose, amazing everything, right? So it's super easy. But what I want to do is I want to accentuate the cheekbones. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to drop my fingers down onto the cheekbones. And so I know that the length I'm creating hits the cheekbones. Now I did the same thing on the other side. And what I did after that was I wanted a soft haircut. So as soon as I had pulled it down to the length I wanted, I pulled it out, and just do a little check again, and then I cut it in. So now I'm confident that from one side to the other, it's the same length. What I did after that was I just pulled it down and I cut in my line. But by doing this, by pulling it out, dropping it down to check the length and pulling it back up, I've made sure that it's in the right place. Now, you can always cross-check. So you can always have a little feel and make sure it feels the same on both sides.
How are we doing?
Yeah, I think we're right.
That was lucky.
Yeah, maybe a little bit short. It's all right. But that's the point. No one's perfect. Nothing is done correct the first time in life. And, you know, I think it's this whole myth that, oh, anyone can just do a perfect haircut. It's not true. You have to really take your time and your effort to make sure things are correct. So having that little bit more patience in the first section is going to allow you to create a really perfect haircut in the end. So if I take 5 minutes here to make sure, don't worry, I'm not going to take 5 minutes. If I take 5 minutes to make sure it's perfect, what that allows me to do is it allows me to work on with confidence and know that it's correct. Because if the first section is wrong, the last section is going to be wrong, and you're going to have to start from the beginning again. But if you know that your first section is correct, you'll move on, you'll know that every section is correct. So what I've done is you saw that I worked through from the front, I connected to the back, but we have a little bit of weight behind the ears. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a vertical section, avoiding those lovely piercings, and then I'm going to come down. So I'm just connecting that through. So now that graduation connects with the front as well. So we have our length that we've defined at the front. We have the length at the back, which we connected, and we just connected through the graduation as well. So that's looking beautiful. So that was my first section. Obviously, I have to remember how much elevation I took. So what I mean by that is we've got the guideline, we've got the back as a guideline, we've got the front as a guideline. That's easy, connect the dots. The thing we have to remember is how high we lifted it up, because we don't want one side to be heavy and the other side to be flat. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure we do the same elevation. And the way I do it, for those of you that have watched my videos before, you'll know. But for those of you that don't, I measure with my fingers. So if you come a little bit closer, MJ, what you'll see is with my fingers, I'm actually touching the skin. And what this is doing is it's allowing me to measure how much elevation I have compared to the other side. So if this side I'm holding it that far away and the other side I was on the skin, I would see how much elevation I had on each side. So I'm really lifting it up because I want a really soft, flat finish. You know, I want something really soft and elegant coming through.
So guys, thanks for tuning in. We've got people from Florida, Oklahoma, Ireland, Wisconsin, West Midlands, Birmingham and Romania. So thanks for tuning in. Please like and share the video. A couple of questions.
What about England? What happened to England? You're all asleep now. What's going on?
West Midlands in this.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. I didn't hear that. I'm deaf. Look at this hair. I can't hear anymore.
So,
it's my mittens.
Two questions which are quite similar.
Yeah, I like similar
One
questions.
of them is any reasons you started from the right, and the other one is do you find one side easier to cut than the other? Because when watching the trainees, they seem to struggle more with one side.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always about what you're trying to achieve that means this. Because if you talk about working in the back of the head, so if we kind of like roll back time a little bit and we go back to the beginning when I started. Now, the back is very important when you're talking about left and right as well. And I'll give you a little example why. So when we're doing this side, what happens is we tend to move our fingers across. Now, if you look at my fingers, they're very close to the head. Actually, it's hard for me to do it further away, and everyone stands very close when they work, so they tend to go very tight. Now, if you flip it to the other side, what happens is when you come this way, if you look from that top, can you see how much your fingers are far away? So this side, the right side, you have a tendency when you pivot to be longer, and when you work, I'm a bit dyslexic, sorry. Left side? Right. Left side's normally shorter, right side's normally longer. Please forgive my dyslexia, people. So, when I work through, so basically what I'm saying is if you look at your hand position, at your body position, you're always likely to be tighter on this side and longer on the other side. The truth for me is, I don't think it matters so much if you start from the left or the right. I think you just have to be very conscious of the balance when you work. I think if you're very conscious of your balance, so what I mean by that is you take your time, you check, you make sure, you check again, you make sure. So each time you take a new section, you're thinking about your balance, you should be fine at the end of it.
Perfect. We've got a really good question actually from Andrea.
Oh, hello, Andrea.
She says, a short haircut can lower a woman's femininity or make her even more feminine. What do you think? I
think it's all about the individual. I think obviously you can make girls look more androgynous if you want to, or not. You know, normally in hairdressing we do have these basic rules, and they're not rules, they're kind of guidelines, I would say. They're basic instructions. A bit of water, please.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So what I mean by this is, normally when we think about shape, we think about squarer shapes as more masculine shapes. So if you're going to do a short haircut and you end up doing something very, very square, it normally has this slightly more masculine feel to it. And what you do is when you have a more rounder shape, it's a bit more feminine. Now, the reason they say this is because they say that square shapes happen to have corners and they look more strong. And a round shape has a bit of softness to it. It's a bit more of a flow. There's no corners. So they have this general thing that they say that You know, rounder haircuts are a bit more feminine, a bit softer, and squarer haircuts are a bit more masculine. So if you want to go for something that's a little bit softer, if you're worried about making things too aggressive, go for something that's very round. If you want something to look more androgynous, a bit more masculine, you can always go for something square. Obviously, if you understand how to cut hair, the choice is yours.
Amazing, good answer, thank you. Right, so.
Ooh. So what we're doing is we are just, can I have the water again? Sorry. So one good thing is if you really want to control the hair, the best secret I can give you of all time is to make sure that you keep the hair very wet when you work. Now the more wet the hair is, the more control you're going to have. If the hair tends to dry up, you will find that it slips out your fingers and you don't have as much control. So for me, one of the number one things, if you want to talk about controlling your precision haircut, is about keeping the hair evenly wet as you work.
Would you ever work on dry hair?
Me personally, not really. I feel like I can't see the hair as much. It's different when you finish the haircut and you want to personalize it at the end. But when I'm creating my basic shape, I like to keep the hair nice and wet and create a very strong shape. For me, I do very little personalizing normally. I try and get my shape to be as perfect as I can on wet, and then it should be a dust of refinement. It shouldn't be a massive change. So I really try and work with the hair wet, and then I use that to create my basic shape, and then just a little bit of refinement.
Yeah, okay.
Cool. So guys, just to kind of give a little recap of what we've done as well. All right, yeah, nice. So just to give a little recap of what we've done as well, we just started from the back and we worked through pivoting sections. So we worked through the back and we pivoted from the top. So we created our graduation. We went very tight in the bottom and built the graduation in the back. We pivoted from the back, working through. We did the same on the other side. So from the back, we created this lovely little silhouette that you can see. From the sides then, we came across horizontally and we connected the front from the back using horizontal sections. So we lifted the hair up and we came across and we connected the front to the back, avoiding all the piercings as well. So what we did was, you can see that we worked through, so we had the shape in the back graduated coming up, and we just connected the sides in and we elevated each section, and that's what we got now. And what I did was I cross-checked. So I'm going to show you how to cross-check on this side because I haven't cross-checked it yet, and then we can have a bit of fun from the top. And I've got a little surprise for you on the top as well. Don't be scared, nothing major.
You've got a question about scissor sizes.
Yeah.
Is that a personal thing, or is there a reason why you use smaller
Yeah,
scissors?
I mean, for me personally, my view on the subject is that we only really work with about that much of our fingers. Now, I've got quite bony fingers, so I've got that lovely little gap there. I don't know if you can see it. So you can see through it. So what happens is I lose tension. So for me, there's no point in actually having bigger scissors than about that size, because what you'll find is it doesn't actually let me cut past that point where I've got a hole. So for me, I only cut with that much, and so that scissor size is perfect for me.
Perfect. So back to the cross-checking.
Yeah, so what I'm doing is I'm just looking from top to bottom and I'm making sure that graduation has a nice flow. So what I'm looking for here is that nothing really bulks out, nothing jumps out at me and says, please cut me. You know, I'm just looking for anything that just blends really nicely from top to bottom. So it just has a nice curvature, a nice flow to it as well.
Nice.
Cool. So what I'm doing is I'm just curving it round. And so guys, you know, again about the Hairbrained Video Awards, if you guys are going to New York, you know, please make sure you come and say hello to us. We're really excited to be nominated for the Hairbrained Video Awards, and we really look forward to seeing you guys there. If you go on hairbrained.pro or hairbrained.me, you'll find a link and you'll be able to buy tickets, and you know, we really look forward to seeing you all there. So super exciting to see everyone in New York, and the big boss is coming with me. So Gregory, the man himself, will be there as well. So very exciting all round.
Perfect. We've got a question actually from Nana again. Thank you for all the questions.
Yeah.
Quite an interesting one actually, because I think we've probably all done it.
Yeah.
How not to panic, and what do you do if you do? I mean, I've certainly panicked a few times when I've been cutting people's hair.
Yeah, I think for me generally, I used to panic a lot. when I felt like I didn't know what I was doing, and to be honest, I didn't really know what I was doing, I used to panic a lot when I cut hair, and I used to find it very, very scary. You know, I would be worried that my client was crying and I didn't really want to look at them, you know. And that's, I think, for me, what changed my life was the education. Just being able to understand what I do and how I do it, and know when I can do something and when I can't. You know, we all work in limitations. You know, rarely, if I want to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger tomorrow, it's not going to happen. And you just have to learn what you can do and what you can't do, and be clear with your clients. So what I find is, I used to panic a lot, especially when I didn't have confidence in what I do, because I didn't really understand how hair worked. And now that I understand how hair works, I panic a lot less, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So you'll always have a day where you're not quite sure, but sometimes you just have to have that little bit of confidence in yourself and think, you know what, everything will be all right. And at the end of the day, it normally is.
That's the point of education, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. You know, I think education is about building confidence in yourself and allowing you to feel better about who you are and what you do. And you know, for me, it was always about having an idea and being able to create it, whether it was my idea or my client's idea, just having that ability to really create the look that we had in our mind. And so it comes back to what I said in the beginning. You know, have a strong idea about what haircut you want to create. Think about the way in which you're going to do it. And for those of you just joining us, this is the beautiful Sophia. We've just finished the bottom and the back as well. So what we did, for those of you that are just joining us, just to recap, is we took from the back, we created our graduation, and we pivoted through. Once we had done the back and we created the back, this nice little short graduation, we came from the side and we worked horizontally up, creating this really nice flat graduation as we work through. And now we're just going to cut through the top. Now, we've had a bit of a creative haircut here from before. So what that means is we've got some really funny long bits. So let's have a bit of fun looking at those now and see what we get. Ooh, thanks so much, James.
So Eduardo, where are we based?
So we are based in London, but we do travel internationally. As we said, our next course in London is in April.
Correct, 14th to 15th.
So our next course is on the 14th and 15th in London here, and we're also doing a course in Cyprus, and we're doing a show in Greece. So yeah, we do travel around. As James said, he's just come back from Guernsey as well. So what we do is, if you want bespoke education, if you want one of the Slate educators to come to your salon and give you bespoke education, just give us a contact, go on our website, slatehair.com, and send us a message, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can, after this haircut probably, and then we can design a bespoke education course for your salon. So if you're a salon owner and you want to have one of our educators come to your salon and teach you a bespoke education course, just feel free, no matter where it is in the world.
So how do you map out this then? You've got short bits and long bits.
So, as you can see, creative haircut from before. We've got some really long bits to get through as well. Now, for me, I've got some guidelines. I've got the very short piece I've got at the back, and I've got the length at the front. Now, when I actually looked at the haircut before, when it was dry, I liked the length of the front, and I liked the softness. It was kind of a little bit choppy and flicky. So actually, I'm going to work with that. So I have my guideline from the back, and I have my guideline from the front, and I'm just going to connect those two. And what I can do afterwards is have a look at how much I want to define the fringe. So for me, those of you that know me and watch the videos, you know that I like to cut hair like I'm basically drawing in a children's book. It's about connecting dots. So I have a little dot in the front, and I have a little dot in the back from the length. So if we look at that, we can see the length that we have in the front and the length that we have in the back, and now I want to connect this through as well. So when I lift up the hair, if I want to have a little check about where it's all going, what I can do is I can lift the hair up, and I can lift up the section, and I can see the length at the front, and I can think, yeah, that's a good length. That means I'm not going to cut the front either. So I'm very happy with that. Just get rid of some of the loose hair, come back and just refine it. So now that I've measured through, so I'm keeping the length in the front for safety, and I'm just going to work through each section. So each time I do this, I am going to check about where I'm going. So it's not just about what I'm cutting, it's about where I'm going with it as well. And so right now, I'm happy with where that's going. So this last section, I can actually incorporate all the hair as well. and I can connect through that front point. I'm just going to work my way back again and just make sure that everything blends. So I'm not interested at the moment if the sides connect or not. So I'm just working through the top of the hair, and I'm just going to connect all those disconnected long pieces we have within the haircut and make sure they blend through as well. So now that I have a guideline, I'm just going to lift the hair up, and I'm going to connect what I can see as my guideline from underneath as well. So lifting the hair up, I can see my guideline, and what I'm doing is I'm standing on the side where I can see the guideline from the middle. So because I'm standing and I cut the middle, I'm pulling the hair over and I can see where my guideline from the middle is as well. Sorry, wedding ring, everything gets stuck. And then we can move over. So I'm just continuing, it's very much a repetition here. I'm just going to pull the hair up, take a little splice. Is that a term they use in America? Splice? I'm not sure. Well, you know what I meant. A little section. And then we pull the hair up and comb over. And again, I can see my guideline because I'm standing on the right side. So the side that is correct is the side where I can see my guideline from. So each section, I can see the guideline from the previous.
So Dominica said that we're going to be doing our head sheets tonight. It will help her a lot.
Yes, of course. So
yeah.
What we do is we always go live on our own Facebook. So we go on Slate Hair Education. So Slate Hair Education's Facebook, and we're going to do head sheets. For those of you hair nerds who like a bit of head sheets and really want to understand this haircut better, we'll be going through the whole of the haircut again with our head sheet. So, and also if you have any questions as well, and you're a bit shy to ask here, don't be afraid. You can just ask us a question there as well.
Perfect. We'll say hi to Un. How you doing? Thanks for watching.
Hi Un, how are you, man? Cool. So that's one side done. We can see that lovely little flick as well coming through, which I think is absolutely beautiful. I do love the little bit of movement we've got going on and the little bit of a short shape. So that graduation comes and sits in nicely. So I'm going to do the second side now, and I'm just going to come through. Now I have a guideline from the middle. So you saw how much I took my time in that first section to make sure everything was really clean and perfect. I measured the front from the back to make sure everything was really clean. And it's always important when you're doing that first section to just take your time as much as you can. And then after that, once you've got your guideline in, you can just work through with confidence. So again, I think if you want to talk about, we were talking about it just before, if you want to talk about confidence, if you feel very confident that you're hitting your guideline because you took enough time to make sure it was correct, then you're going to feel very confident working through the rest of the haircut. So I think for me, it's always about taking your time in that first section, making sure you've got a very clean guideline, and then after that, you can work with a bit of a clear mind. You don't have to worry so much, basically. And I think that's the one thing is also, I'm not the cleanest cutter in the world, but certainly working with slightly cleaner sections so that you don't get lost in what you do. And I think that's what happens to a lot of hairdressers that I've seen when we've traveled and worked. We always see that hairdressers end up kind of getting lost in their haircuts because they don't have a clear idea of, first of all, what they're trying to create, what their vision is, and then second of all, because they don't have a clear plan of how they're going to create it. So for me, if you have a very clear plan of how you're going to create the haircut, then you have this way of following it, essentially. So for me, clear idea, and then clear idea of how you're going to create it.
So it's like a sketch, don't you?
Exactly. I always kind of say the same thing to people. I say, imagine if you went for a tattoo. Would you want everyone, when you went for a tattoo, would you want them to draw it before they tattooed it on your body? And everyone normally answers, yeah, if I got a tattoo, I'm pretty sure I would want them to draw it first. It's the same thing when we're cutting hair. The sectioning, what it is, it's almost like a drawing of the haircut before you commit. So if anything goes wrong with the sectioning, you can always change it. Once you put your scissors in, it's kind of game over. So I always think it's really important, sketch your haircut with your sectioning first, make sure you're happy with it, and when you're happy with it, then you can commit to what you're doing. Does that make sense, everyone?
I think so.
Good.
If it doesn't, then please tell us.
Yeah.
We're more than happy to go back through everything.
Exactly. So any questions you guys have, this is really the time to do it now before the hairdryer goes off and, you know, the alarm goes off and everything goes off. Cool. So I've just finished the top now. Now, it doesn't connect actually. So we've got this top bit, but it doesn't connect from the bottom as well. How you doing there? You okay?
I'm good.
She's looking good. You're looking good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to start cross-checking through the top. So because we took these lovely vertical sections and it went from short to long, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just come through and cross-check horizontally just to make sure my shape is nice. So I'm going to move all the hair over to one side, doesn't matter which side, and then I'm just going to comb the hair across and I'm going to lift the hair up, and all I'm looking at is that the hair from left to right is the same length. So I'm not looking at the hair from front and back, I'm just looking from left and right to make sure it sits nicely. That's all.
And what would you do if you saw something was really wrong here? Would you cut it off, or would you?
I would, if it's really wrong, we always say go back to the original. So if you see that you've missed a big chunk of hair out, I would always go back to the vertical and then come back again afterwards. So what I mean by that is if you see one super long piece, it means you missed a bit. So come back to your vertical, go through it again, and then cross-check, and you'll find the bit that you've done wrong. So it's a much safer way of working. Cool. So we hadn't actually cut this bit from before, remember, we left the fringe out. So what I'm doing now is I'm just blending in the front that we had left, and it's sitting a lot nicer. Now what I can do is I can start to connect the sides from the top. So for now we had just done the top, there's no connection to the sides. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take these vertical sections which blend through. I should have worn a white shirt so you guys can see better. I do apologize. How very dare I? I love it because you know, my business partner and my mentor, he always taught me, you know, you should go to work in a white shirt. He goes, because what you're going to do is you're going to see the haircut better when you look in the mirror. And it is true, actually. You never really thought about it, how what you wear affects what you can see. But it is so true that if you do wear a white shirt, you can see the silhouette so much better.
We've all gone wrong then, us three are all wearing black.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, at least we look cool while we're doing it. Come on, please. Fashion, please.
Rebecca said very clean and consistent work. Thank you very much,
thank
Rebecca.
you so much, Rebecca. If you have any questions, guys, please ask away. So what I'm doing now is I'm just going through. So I worked through the top. I then checked horizontally, and now I'm just blending in the corners on the side. So what I'm doing is I'm lifting the hair up, and I'm finding where we need to work to connect it through. I'm just connecting it through. So this is going to be this lovely, kind of quite short and edgy in the back, but a little bit softer in the front, you know. So the opposite of a mullet. It's fun in the front and business in the back.
Would you say that getting to a level that you're at now where you know what you do know, would you say that was easy, that was hard? How did you find it?
It took a lot of work. You know, I was very lucky where I had obviously my mentor Gregory, you know, always looking out for me and always teaching me the way. So, you know, I think it's very important that we listen to the elders around us and, you know, the people that can give us experience and knowledge, and working with people, and also just hard work generally. You know, it's like that. The more time you put in, the better. I remember I had a stylist say to me, well, okay, so you do training once a week as an assistant and it takes you 2 years. Well, what if you came in on your day off and you did a model? He goes, well, all of a sudden you'd finish quicker, right? You'd finish 1 year quicker. So it's that kind of little ideology that what you do is the more time you put in, the more you're going to get back out of it. So anyone who really wants to excel, I wish I could say there wasn't anything but hard work, but there's nothing that beats hard work. So that, and I think strong mentorship. You know, if you have the right people around you in life, it's going to help go a long way.
So Andreas, are the beginners welcome to snake hair education?
So what we do is we ask for people who have a little bit of experience. So if you have just finished hairdressing school, maybe the best thing is to come on a geometric course with us. If you don't know anything about hairdressing, maybe it's not quite right, and you should finish school first. So I think we do offer a lot of levels, but it's funny because you always find that if you actually have more experience, sometimes it's harder. Do you know what I mean? So if you actually know nothing about hairdressing, sometimes it's easier than if you've got this idea in your head already of what you're doing. I don't know, can anyone hear me? MJ, you gonna cry? Can anyone hear me? Yeah. Sorry, I'm losing my voice a little bit, guys. I do apologize.
I think the reason being why having a little bit of experience is good and a basic knowledge is the fact that we go really in depth into the theory of hair cutting and cutting hair and the haircuts that we do. So for some of it, might, if you don't know anything about hairdressing, it might just sound like gobbledygook and too much to take in. So just have a very basic understanding, and then we can then go from there to really go, work to your needs.
Yeah, and you know, this is why we always teach small classes as well. So if we do have someone who's very advanced and someone who's less, you know, and I always like to see, you know, these young students with the older students when they work, because what you always find is the younger students sometimes tend to pick things up quite quickly as well, which I really enjoy. So if you're, I think the point is being open. If you're open to learning, and you come with a very clean mind, there's really a lot you can learn. So what I'm doing now is I'm doing a little secret. I'm cheating. I'm looking in the mirror. So there's 3 things that never lie. Can anyone tell me out there what the 3 things that never lie are? So if you want to know what the truth is, what your haircut really looks like, there are 3 things that never lie. Can anyone tell me what they are?
Have we got anyone?
Yeah. So, James, can you tell me what they are?
I will. After, I'm just going to say good luck to Kevin. He's got his practical exam on March the 11th.
Hey.
Good luck.
Good luck, Kevin.
So, one of them is the mirror.
One of them is the mirror. The mirror never lies. So if you want to know if your haircut's balanced or not, or if it's good, what you can do is you can just look in the mirror, and the mirror will always tell you the truth. It shows you things that you can't see with your naked eye. The other thing is always about standing back. So the fact is, most of us, when we cut, we do this. And then we kind of like go, oh, is that annoying? I'm just looking, and then we're like, oh, it looks really bad. So the truth is that the more further away you stand, the better you see your haircut. So if I'm looking in the mirror, I'm actually looking at a couple of meters away. I'm looking from here, 1 meter there, 1 meter back, 1 meter there, 1 meter here. So I see much better what's going on when I'm doing that. The other thing is...
I think we've got it. We might have had an answer. I think Joe and Christina have both said phone or camera.
Yes, yes.
But Christina also said your mum, phone and the mirror.
That's it. So you can tell the people that have come on our courses before, and that is correct. There's 3 things in life that never lie. 1 is the mirror. 2 is your phone. If you take a picture with your phone and you look at the picture on the phone, you will see the truth. Because in the reality, whatever you take a picture of, it shows you all of your mistakes very, very, very clearly. So if you're ever not sure, you can always look at your phone. And the other thing that never lies is my mom, but she's not really available to come tell you about your haircuts. So you might just want to stick with the camera and the mirror, but very good, our students do listen. And I'd never repeat myself. I love it, MJ's probably shaking the camera because she's laughing so hard behind it. I think this looks amazing. I don't know what you guys think. We can always break it up a little bit as well, which is always a bit of fun. That's right, I can point into hair, for those of you that thought I couldn't.
Oscar said beautiful shape, very flattering on the model.
Thank you. Oh, on the model, okay. So how do you do this? I think you go like that, right? Yeah, so for me, what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to break up the fringe a little bit. So what we can do is we can obviously just take pieces from the top as well and just slim it down and open it up. The other thing we can do is we can comb it very nicely and actually just point in as well. So that is a very good way of breaking up each individual strand. So that's a great thing for me.
What are the different ways of pointing into hair?
So there's essentially, if you want to break it down really fundamentally, there's 2 ways of pointing into hair. One of them is when you point in and you just go very, very much on the ends So if we lift up the hair for you here, and if we just point into the end, so we're kind of breaking the line that we've created, and the other one is a much more deeper point cut. So the other one would be really going deep into the hair and breaking into it just to open it up more as well. So that's the two different ones. One is a very, very, very subtle, very much just on the ends, and one is very, very deep, which goes right into the hair as well. And you know, the deep one is always about making separation and breaking pieces up.
Do you find that the angle of the scissor can change sometimes?
Yeah, of course. So for me, I normally go quite straight in, because if you go too much of an angle, you're probably likely to take a huge chunk out. And that can be cool, and it can not be cool, depending on what you want. So we always have to think about that as well. What I'm doing is I'm just going to remove a little bit of weight. I think that's the other thing. When the hair's dry, you can really see much better where the weight sits as well. And I think that's really important, is understanding where the weight sits. Because normally in hairdressing, it's just a distribution of weight. You're either removing weight, layering it, or you're building weight, graduating it. So you can see that what we've done is we've built the weight in the back, and we've actually built the weight but very flat on the side, and we've created this really soft finish on the top by layering the hair more as well. So the more you lift up the hair, the more softer everything gets. So if you see a bit that's a bit heavy and you want to soften it, it's just about lifting it higher. So think about it like that. The lower you go, the heavier it is. The higher you go, the softer it is. And the rest is just a bit of personalizing. What do you guys think? Please let us know. Give us a thumbs up. We really hope to see you guys in New York. We're super excited. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching as always. You know, we're coming up to 1 year of doing Hairbrained Lives now, so we're super grateful to the community for always having us and showing us so much love. So thank you, guys. And we hope we answered all your questions. If you do have any questions though, or you want to see a little bit more detail, we are going to go live on our own Facebook page. So if you go to Slate Hair Slate Hair Education's Facebook, and then you can see us doing the head sheets for this haircut. So for all of you hair nerds, and I know who you are out there, you can always watch us going live on our Slate Hair Education's Facebook to see the head sheets that we're going to show you how we did this haircut. So we really hope you guys like it. I think it's a lovely little short shave. I think you look amazing, Sophia. I think it's brilliant. And I'm being a hairdresser now. I'm just touching the hair, you know, don't quite. I think looking from the back as well, it looks amazing. Look at you, so cool. Lovely, gorgeous. So guys, please give us a lovely thumbs up. Thanks Sophia so much for her time to be with us as well. Please share the video so we can get it out to as many people as possible. Please stand up for us. Ooh.
Clean you up.
Yeah. Amazing.
There you go.
Just add a little bit there. So, just a very quick recap for all of you out there that have decided to just join us at the end. You can go back and watch the beginning as well. We started from the back and we built our graduation in the back, and then we pivoted around on both sides. So we pivoted from the back, working through, moving each section to the side. So building weight around the sides, we're going really tight, and we scissor over comb the back. Afterwards, we came horizontally and we connected the front from the back, lifting our fingers each time to create this really soft graduation. From the top, we took a triangle layer, and what I mean by this is we went shorter in the back, longer in the front, and we connected the top, and then we just came through and rounded the sides and pointed into the fringe. We're about to go live on our Slate Hair Education's Facebook for all you hair nerds to show you the head sheets. As we said, thank you so much for nominating us for the Hairbrained Video Awards. We look forward to seeing you guys in New York, so super excited. And good night from London, I guess. So thank you so much, Sophia. Thank you so much, James.
Thanks, guys.
It looks amazing. We'll see you guys soon for the next Hairbrained Live.
Cool.